The reservation was at 7:30. The restaurant was one of those places where the waiters wore vests, and you couldn't hear the table next to you over the soft piano music. My daughter-in-law, Veronica, had insisted on Meridian Prime, the kind of steakhouse where a ribeye costs what I used to make in a week back in 1985. She'd made the reservation herself, picked the private dining room, even coordinated what everyone should wear. "It needs to be special, Dad," my son Marcus had told me over the phone. "Emma's turning 10. Veronica wants to make it memorable." I should have known then. The word memorable in Veronica's vocabulary usually meant expensive, and expensive usually meant my wallet. But Emma was my granddaughter, and I'd crawl through broken glass for that kid. So I put on the navy blazer Margaret bought me before she passed, the one she said made me look distinguished instead of just old, and drove the 30 minutes into downtown Seattle. The valet took my car, a 2015 Honda Accord that ran perfectly fine, despite Veronica's monthly suggestions that I upgrade to something more appropriate for a man of my stature. I'd learned to smile and nod. Arguing with Veronica was like arguing with a fire alarm. Loud, persistent, and ultimately pointless. Marcus met me at the entrance. My son looked tired. The kind of tired that lives in your shoulders and never quite leaves your eyes. He'd been working double shifts at the hospital. He was an ER nurse, good at his job, proud of what he did. But Veronica had other ideas about what success looked like. "Dad, thanks for coming," he said, gripping my hand. His palm was sweaty. "The girls are already inside with Veronica. Wouldn't miss it for the world." We walked through the main dining room, past tables where people leaned toward each other in quiet conversation. The private room was in the back, with frosted glass walls and a table that could seat 12. Tonight it would be just 5 of us. Marcus, Veronica, Emma, her younger sister Sophie, and me. Emma saw me first. She jumped up from her chair, all long legs and missing front tooth, and wrapped her arms around my waist. "Grandpa!" "Happy birthday, sweetheart." I pulled a small wrapped box from my jacket pocket. Inside was a compass, a real one, brass and glass, the kind that didn't need batteries. "For all your adventures." Her eyes went wide. "This is so cool." "Emma, what do we say?" Veronica's voice cut through the moment like a knife through butter. She sat at the head of the table, phone in hand, not looking up. "Thank you, Grandpa." Emma clutched the compass and returned to her seat next to Sophie, who was coloring on the kids' menu with fierce concentration. I took my place at the opposite end of the table from Veronica. Marcus sat between his wife and daughters, Switzerland, in a button-down shirt. Veronica finally looked up from her phone. She'd done something new to her hair highlights, maybe, or extensions. I could never tell. She wore a white dress that probably cost more than my mortgage payment and jewelry that caught the light every time she moved. Her smile was sharp and bright, the kind she used in her Instagram photos. "Richard, so glad you could make it." She always called me Richard, never Dad. "I've already ordered wine. Hope you don't mind the sommelier recommended a Napa cab that's supposed to be exceptional." The wine arrived moments later, presented like a newborn baby. The waiter went through the whole ritual, showing the label, pouring a taste, waiting for approval. Veronica waved him on impatiently. "Marcus, your father's treating tonight, isn't he?" She said it as a statement, not a question, while the waiter filled our glasses. Marcus's jaw tightened. "Veronica, what? It's Emma's birthday. Grandpa would want to do something special." She turned to me with that smile again. "Right, Richard? You're always saying how we should celebrate family occasions properly." I'd never said that, but I nodded anyway. Of course. The waiter took our orders. Veronica selected the most expensive items on the menu without glancing at prices: the Wagyu beef, the lobster tail, an appetizer that cost $42, and was, according to the description, deconstructed. Emma and Sophie ordered chicken fingers from the kids' menu, which seemed to physically pain Veronica. "Girls, wouldn't you like to try something more sophisticated? You're getting older now. Emma, you're in double digits." Emma looked at her mother uncertainly. "I like chicken fingers." "That's fine, sweetheart," I said. "It's your birthday. You get whatever you want." Veronica's smile tightened, but she didn't push. Instead, she pulled out her phone and started taking photos of the table, the wine, the bread basket. "This place is so Instagrammable," she said to no one in particular. "My followers are going to die." The appetizers arrived. The deconstructed whatever it was turned out to be 3 small components artfully arranged on a rectangular plate. Veronica photographed it from multiple angles before taking a bite. "So, Richard," she said, setting down her fork, "Marcus and I have been talking about the girls' education." Here it comes, I thought. I'd been waiting for this conversation for 6 months, ever since Veronica had started making comments about investing in their futures and doors that money can open. "They're both doing great in school," I said carefully. Emma made honor roll again. Public school honor roll. Veronica said it like she was describing a participation trophy. "We're thinking about private education, somewhere with real resources, connections, opportunities. Lakeside Academy has an excellent program." Lakeside Academy, where tuition ran $50,000 a year per child. Marcus was staring at his plate, shoulders hunched. The girls were playing with Sophie's crayons, oblivious. "That's a big decision," I said. "It is, and it requires a certain level of financial commitment." Veronica took a sip of wine, her eyes never leaving mine. "We've been managing, but with Marcus's schedule and everything we've been dealing with, it would really help to have family support. You know, the kind of support grandparents traditionally provide." My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. "Veronica, maybe this isn't the time Marcus started." "When is the time, Marcus? Your father keeps saying how much he loves the girls, how he wants what's best for them. Here's a chance to prove it." She turned back to me. "I'm sure Margaret would have wanted her granddaughters to have every advantage. She always struck me as someone who valued education." The mention of Margaret's name felt like a hand around my throat. My wife had been gone 3 years, and Veronica knew exactly how to weaponize her memory. "Mom loved them very much," Marcus said quietly. Then it settled. "Richard can help with tuition. What's money for, if not family?" Veronica raised her glass. "To Emma's birthday, and to new beginnings." Nobody else raised their glass. The silence stretched out, awkward and heavy. Emma looked between her mother and grandfather, confused. My phone buzzed again, 2 buzzes this time. Then a text notification lit up my screen. I glanced down, angling the phone so no one else could see. It was from James Chen, my attorney. Just 2 words: "She's here." I set the phone face down on the table. My heart was doing something complicated in my chest, but my face stayed neutral. Years of engineering meetings had taught me how to keep my expression blank when I needed to. The main courses arrived. Veronica's Wagyu was presented like a work of art, pink in the middle, with some kind of foam on the side. She took another round of photos before cutting into it. "You know what your problem is, Richard?" She'd had 2 glasses of wine now, and her voice had that sharp edge it got when she was building towards something. "You're selfish." Marcus put down his fork. "Veronica, no, let me say this. It needs to be said." She looked at Emma and Sophie, then back at me. "Your grandfather has more money than he knows what to do with. He lives in that old house, drives that old car, wears the same clothes he's had for a decade. Meanwhile, his granddaughters could be getting the education they deserve, but he'd rather hoard it all like some kind of dragon sitting on gold." Emma's eyes were wide. Sophie had stopped coloring. "That's enough," Marcus said, but his voice lacked force. "Is it? Because I'm tired of pretending everything's fine. I'm tired of working my tail off to maintain any kind of lifestyle while your father sits on his retirement money and acts like he's struggling." Veronica's voice rose. "Do you know what people say when I tell them my father-in-law was a senior engineer at Boeing? They assume we're set. They assume he helps. And then I have to explain that no, actually, he doesn't. Because he's too cheap or too selfish or too whatever to help his own family." The room felt airless. Other diners couldn't hear us through the frosted glass, but I could see shadows passing by. The normal rhythm of a Saturday night continuing while our table sat frozen. "Mom, you're scaring Sophie," Emma said softly. Veronica didn't seem to hear her. She was looking at me now, really looking, and there was something desperate behind the anger. "Margaret would be ashamed of you. You know that? Your wife spent her whole life being generous, being kind, And you're sitting on her life insurance money like it doesn't mean anything. That's when my phone buzzed a third time. I picked it up and read the message. In position. Give the signal when ready. I set the phone back down and looked at Veronica. Really looked at her. The designer dress, the jewelry, the perfectly styled hair, the desperation, hiding behind entitlement. You're right, I said quietly. Margaret was generous. Veronica blinked, surprised. I what? She was kind. She believed in helping family. She set up college funds for both girls the day they were born. I kept my voice level, gentle, even. $20,000 each, in accounts that can only be used for education. The paperwork is all filed with the state. Legitimate, legal, untouchable. Marcus's head came up. Dad, I didn't know. Your mother wanted it to be a surprise. Something they'd discover when they needed it. I turned to my granddaughters. Emma, Sophie, when you're ready for college, that money will be there. Your grandmother made sure of it. Emma's face lit up. Really? Really. Veronica's expression had gone carefully blank. That's wonderful, Richard. Very thoughtful. But of course, private school comes before college. And the money can only be used for college, I repeated. It's restricted. Even I can't access it. Then what good is it? The words came out harsh, too fast. Veronica caught herself, tried to soften it with a laugh. I mean, they're 10 and 8. College is years away. 10 years for Emma, 12 for Sophie. My phone buzzed one more time. The final message. Coming in now. I didn't react. I cut a piece of my steak, chewed slowly. Across the table, Marcus was watching his wife with an expression I couldn't quite read. Emma and Sophie had gone back to coloring, the tension seeming to flow past them like water around stones. This is ridiculous, Veronica said, her voice rising again. You're telling me you won't help your son's family with education, with opportunities, with anything? You'll just let us struggle while you... The door to the private dining room opened. A woman walked in. She was in her 40s, wearing a gray business suit and carrying a leather portfolio. She had the kind of presence that makes rooms go quiet, not aggressive, just certain. She walked straight to our table and stopped next to Veronica's chair. Mrs. Foster, she said. Veronica looked up, irritated. I'm sorry. Who are you? This is a private party. My name is Diana Reeves. I'm a forensic accountant. Mr. Foster hired me 6 months ago to look into some irregularities with your family finances. She set the portfolio on the table. I think we need to talk. The color drained from Veronica's face. I what? Marcus, who is this woman? Marcus was staring at Diana, then at me. Dad? Let her speak, I said quietly. Diana opened the portfolio. Inside were documents, spreadsheets, highlighted bank statements. 6 months ago, Richard noticed that the college accounts he'd set up for Emma and Sophie were showing unusual activity. Small withdrawals, always just under the reporting threshold. He asked me to investigate. That's absurd. Veronica's voice shook. Those accounts are protected. You said so yourself, Richard. Protected from me, I said. Not from someone with power of attorney. Diana pulled out a document and placed it in front of Marcus. Your wife acquired power of attorney over the girls' accounts 2 years ago, shortly after your mother passed away. She told the bank it was necessary for estate planning purposes. Marcus picked up the document with shaking hands. I watched him read it, watched understanding dawn slowly, then all at once. Over the past 22 months, Diana continued, Veronica has withdrawn approximately $78,000 from these accounts. The money was transferred to personal accounts and credit cards in her name. That's a lie, Veronica said, but her voice had gone thin. Marcus, this is a lie. Your father put her up to this because he's angry. I called him out. Diana placed another document down. A credit card statement. This is your Nordstrom account. $18,000 in charges over 6 months. Here's your Amex $23,000. The withdrawal dates from the college funds match up exactly with payment dates on these accounts. Sophie looked up from her coloring. Mommy, what's happening? Nothing, baby, Veronica said, but her hands were trembling. This woman is lying. There's more. Diana's voice was gentle now, which somehow made it worse. During the investigation, I found evidence of other accounts. A separate checking account in only Veronica's name opened 4 months ago. There are regular deposits, cash deposits, always under $10,000. She pulled out photos. Veronica entering a bank. Veronica at an ATM. Veronica with a man I didn't recognize, having coffee at an outdoor cafe, his hand over hers on the table. His name is Tyler Brennan, Diana said. He's a personal trainer at the gym where Veronica works out. The cash deposits match up with dates when Marcus was working night shifts at the hospital. Marcus stood up so fast his chair scraped against the floor. His face had gone white, then red, then white again. Veronica. Marcus, let me explain. You stole from our daughters. His voice cracked on the word daughters. You stole money your mother-in-law set aside for them, money they were supposed to have for their futures, and you spent it on clothes and God knows what else. I was going to pay it back. Veronica was standing now too, her voice desperate. We needed the lifestyle we're supposed to have. Your salary isn't enough, Marcus. I have a reputation to maintain. Followers who expect. Followers? Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. You stole from Emma and Sophie for your Instagram followers. Emma started crying. Sophie wrapped her arms around her sister, her small face scrunched with confusion and fear. I stood up and moved to the girls, kneeling between their chairs. Hey, it's okay. Everything's going to be okay. Is Mommy in trouble? Sophie whispered. Yes, I said, because lying to children never helped anything. But you're not. And your sister's not. And your dad's going to make sure you're safe. Diana was still talking, laying out more documents, more evidence, bank statements, photos, text messages. The affair had been going on for 8 months. The theft had started even earlier. She'd been systematic about it, careful, always staying just under the limits that would trigger automatic reviews. I loved your mother, I told my granddaughters quietly, while the adult world fell apart behind us. She loved you both so much, and she wanted you to have opportunities, chances, futures that were yours. That money was a gift from her to you. Nobody had the right to take it. Can we go home? Emma asked, tears streaming down her face. Soon, sweetheart. Marcus had his phone out now, his hands shaking so hard he could barely type. I'm calling my lawyer, he said to no one in particular. I need my lawyer. Dad, can you take the girls? Of course. Veronica was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks, the perfect Instagram facade crumbling. Marcus, please. We can fix this. I made mistakes, but we can. Get out, Marcus said quietly. What? Get out of this restaurant. Get out of my sight. I will deal with the legal aspects of this through attorneys. But right now, I need you to leave before I say something I'll regret in front of our daughters. You can't just throw me out. I have rights. I'm their mother. You're a thief. The words came out flat, final. You stole from children, from our children. Whatever rights you think you have, you'd better believe I'm going to fight like hell to make sure you don't get to hurt them anymore. Diana closed her portfolio. Mr. Foster, I've compiled a complete report. Copies have been provided to your attorney and to the local prosecutor's office. Mrs. Foster, you should be aware that what you've done constitutes multiple counts of financial fraud and theft. The fact that the victims are minors makes it significantly more serious. Veronica looked at me then, and for just a moment, I saw past the anger and the fear to something else. Regret, maybe, or just desperation. This is your fault, she said, her voice hoarse. You did this. You could have just helped us. You could have just given us the money freely, but instead you set a trap. You're cruel, Richard. You're a cruel old man. I protected my granddaughters, I said simply. That's what grandparents do. She grabbed her purse and left. The sound of her heels on the restaurant floor got quieter, then disappeared entirely. The waiter appeared in the doorway, looking uncertain. Is everything all right? I heard raised voices. We're fine, I told him. Can you box up the girls' dinners? We're going to head out. Of course. And the check? I'll take care of it, Marcus said, but I shook my head. This dinner was supposed to be a celebration. I looked at Emma, whose tears had slowed. "Happy birthday, sweetheart. I'm sorry it turned out like this." "It's okay, Grandpa." She hugged the compass I'd given her. "At least you're here." We left Meridian Prime 20 minutes later. The valet brought my Honda around, and I helped the girls into the back seat, while Marcus talked quietly with Diana near his car. The Seattle night was cool and clear, the kind of October evening where you could see your breath in the streetlights. Marcus came over after Diana drove away. He looked 10 years older than he had 2 hours ago. "I'm sorry, Dad. I should have seen it. Should have known something was wrong. You were working, taking care of your family. You can't blame yourself for trusting your wife." "Mom's college funds." He shook his head. "I had no idea she'd done that. She wanted it to be a surprise. A good surprise." I pulled an envelope from my jacket pocket. "This is for you. Another account she set up, in your name. For emergencies," she said. "I think this qualifies." Marcus took the envelope but didn't open it. How much did Veronica actually take? Diana's report has the exact numbers. 78,000 from the college funds. Another 35,000 from various other accounts I'd set up for the girls' Christmas funds, birthday funds, things like that. She was thorough. Jesus Christ. Most of it can be recovered. Diana found the accounts where Veronica moved the money. Some was spent, but not all. There'll be legal fees, penalties, but Emma and Sophie's futures are still intact. And what about their mother going to jail? Marcus's voice broke. How do I explain that to them? Carefully, honestly, with help from professionals who know how to talk to kids about trauma. I put my hand on his shoulder. But you don't have to do it alone. You've got me. You've got your sister in Portland. You've got friends. You've got resources. Mom would know what to say. Your mother would tell you that you're stronger than you think, that you've been handling trauma and crisis every day in that ER, and your daughters need that same calm strength now. I smiled a little. She'd also tell you to let them eat ice cream for dinner tomorrow and not feel guilty about it. That got a small laugh out of him. Yeah, she would. The girls were quiet in the back seat, Sophie's head on Emma's shoulder. The compass sat on Emma's lap, reflecting the streetlights. "You knew," Marcus said. "You knew for 6 months and didn't tell me." I knew something was wrong. I didn't know what until Diana finished her investigation. And I needed to be sure, Marcus. I needed absolute proof before I accused your wife of something like this. You could have warned me. Would you have believed me without proof? He was quiet for a long moment. Probably not. That's why I waited. That's why I documented everything. Because when it came out, and it had to come out, I needed you to see it clearly. Not through my words, but through evidence that couldn't be denied, or twisted, or explained away. The dinner tonight, that was planned. Diana and I coordinated, yes. Veronica had been getting bolder, more open about demanding money. We knew she'd use Emma's birthday as leverage. It seemed like the right time to end it. In front of my daughters. I know. I'm sorry for that. But I thought it was better for them to see their father stand up for them. To see that truth matters. To understand that people face consequences. I opened my car door. I could be wrong. I probably am. Your mother was always better at these judgment calls. Marcus was quiet. Inside the car, Emma had picked up the compass and was turning it over in her hands, watching the needle swing and settle. "What happens now?" Marcus asked. "Now you go home with your girls. Tomorrow you call your lawyer and start the divorce process. You'll get custody. Diana's report makes that almost certain. Veronica will likely face criminal charges. There'll be a trial, or more likely a plea deal. It won't be easy or quick. And you? I'll be here. Whatever you need. Babysitting, legal fees, therapy costs, groceries. Margaret and I saved for 40 years. That money is supposed to help our family when they need it most." I looked at my son. "I think you need it now." He hugged me then, right there on the sidewalk, like he used to when he was small and something scared him. I held him and thought about Margaret, about how she'd know exactly what to say in this moment. She always did. When we finally let go, Marcus's eyes were red but clear. "Thank you, Dad. That's what grandparents do." I drove Emma and Sophie back to my house that night. Their house, the one they'd shared with Veronica, didn't feel safe anymore. They needed space, distance, Time to process. Marcus followed in his own car, and we got the girls settled in the guest room that still had their grandmother's quilts on the beds. Sophie fell asleep almost immediately, exhausted by emotions she was too young to fully understand. Emma stayed awake longer, sitting cross-legged on the bed with her compass. "Grandpa?" she said as I was about to turn off the light. "Yeah, sweetheart. Did Grandma really put aside money for me? For college?" "She did, the day you were born. But Mom took it. Some of it, not all. And we'll get most of it back." Emma was quiet, turning the compass in her hands. Is Mom a bad person? That was the question, wasn't it? The one that would follow my granddaughters for years, that would need better answers than I could give at midnight on a Saturday that was supposed to be about birthday cake. "Your mom made bad choices," I said carefully. "Really bad choices that hurt people. That doesn't make her entirely bad, but it means she has to face consequences for what she did." "Will we see her again?" "I don't know. That'll be up to lawyers and judges and your dad, but whatever happens, you and Sophie didn't do anything wrong. This isn't your fault." "I know." Emma set the compass on the nightstand. "Grandpa, I'm glad Grandma thought about us, even though she's not here anymore. She thinks about you all the time," I said. "Wherever she is." I kissed her forehead and turned off the light. Downstairs, Marcus was sitting at the kitchen table with his phone, starting to make the calls that would unravel his marriage and reshape his daughters' lives. The house was quiet, except for the old clock Margaret loved, ticking steadily through the darkness. 3 months later, Emma and Sophie were still with me. Marcus had moved into a smaller apartment closer to the hospital, but the girls needed stability, space, a yard to play in. They'd go to their dad's on weekends, but during the week they were here, in the house where their father grew up. Veronica took a plea deal, 5 years probation, restitution, community service. No jail time, but a felony record and supervised visitation with the girls once a month. The divorce was finalized. The college funds were restored, mostly. The numbers would never quite match what Margaret had originally set aside, but they'd be enough. Emma's birthday compass sat on the mantel in the living room, next to a photo of Margaret holding both girls when they were babies. Sometimes I'd catch Emma looking at it, turning it over in her hands, watching the needle find north. "Grandpa," she asked me one Saturday morning while we made pancakes, "do you think Grandma would be proud of me?" I know she would be. Why? Because I want to be a nurse like Dad. Help people, then that's what you'll do. I flipped a pancake. "And that college money your grandmother set aside? It'll be there when you're ready." Sophie wandered in, still in pajamas, dragging a stuffed elephant. "Can we call Dad?" "After breakfast. He's sleeping, he worked all night." They ate pancakes with too much syrup and watched cartoons while I cleaned up. Later, we'd call Marcus, maybe drive to the park, maybe stop by the store for ingredients to make Margaret's chocolate chip cookies, the recipe the girls were learning by heart. Normal things, healing things. The restaurant had sent a refund for the dinner we never finished, along with an apology note. I donated the money to a foundation that helped children of incarcerated parents. It seemed like something Margaret would have done. Sometimes I think about that night at Meridian Prime. The look on Veronica's face when Diana walked in. The moment Marcus understood what his wife had done. The sound of Emma crying, not understanding why her birthday had turned into something dark and complicated. I don't regret it. I'd do it again, exactly the same way. Because the alternative was letting it continue the theft, the lies, the slow erosion of everything Margaret had worked to protect. But I wish Margaret was here to see what came after. To see Emma finding her way toward nursing, toward helping others. To see Sophie learning that even when adults make terrible choices, there are still people who will fight to protect you. To see Marcus becoming the kind of father who chooses his children over comfort, truth over convenience. She would have been proud of all of them. The compass still works perfectly, its needle always finding true north no matter how much the world spins around it. Like family, like love, like the promises we make to protect the people who matter most, even when keeping those promises requires patience, evidence, and the courage to speak truth in expensive restaurants. That's what grandparents do.